Hello and welcome to Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. Today, our special guest is, well, I shouldn't say today our special guest is because I've been doing this all day because we're at InterSolar in InterSolar North America, which is in San Diego, California, a beautiful place. And I happen to be in a place full of air conditioning, wearing jackets, just to stay warm, drinking warm stuff. And today we're with Vince Ambrose, and Vince is the Chief Commercial Officer of Franklin Whole Home. And I bet a lot of people like me probably think it's for watt hours.
It could be translated for watt hours, but we stick for whole home.
Okay, so Franklin Whole Home, WH.
Yes.
Sounds good. And the reason why I like the watt hour part too is because I'm into education and you store watt hours. You could change your name though someday to Franklin Killer Whole Home, and then it would be Franklin KWH, and then that kind of fits.
There you go. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Killer whole home.
And did you know that a KWH is 3.6 million joules? I bet, you're probably telling a lot of people that.
That I didn't even know.
And a joule is a watt second. So
Watt second.
Watt seconds of joules. So anyway, thanks for having me over to your booth to do the podcast here. And maybe what we could do is just talk about what you have going on. And I was just talking to you before, so I got permission. It's sort of like what you're selling, just from like what my perspective of like, I don't know a whole lot about what Franklin Whole Home is, but it's kind of like a Powerwall for people that got canceled by Elon or something like that. Or like, I know that there's like a lot of people can't sell Powerwalls and stuff like that, or people can't buy them, they cost too much and all that kind of stuff. So it's like you got the thing that you put on the wall and it's got batteries in it and you plug stuff into it. And so does that sound right?
Well, that's generally in the right spot. And so, Sean, first of all, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Really excited to be working with you today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Franklin Whole Home, we are a pure play energy storage solution system. Right? Obviously, battery's part of it, but the guts and the brains of our system is really what we call the ESS part, where we allow our homeowners to manage, store, and control all of their own energy and load. We could be compared to a Tesla Powerwall for certain. Tesla's a great player in the space. They are one of the first movers into this space. And we like to think that we took that concept and took it to the next level of technology and service for our homeowners.
Yeah, okay. So let's kind of maybe even explain what the system is. So maybe you can explain what it is better as far as just like maybe like the basic thing, like somebody goes and gets your product, what can it do?
Sure. Great question, because that question actually has a lot of different answers depending on who you are.
Yeah.
A lot of your clients, customers that know your podcast probably know PV very well or solar very well, right? And solar's fantastic, right? I spent many years on the PV side of the business, but PV does one thing, right? It creates electrons and it moves them down a wire.
I know that you can't store it because it leaves at the speed of light.
Exactly, right? And that's all it does. It's a single use case. Fantastic with single use case. When you get into an energy storage solution system, now you've got a product that has a lot of different services, right? So first and foremost, right, we work with solar. Obviously, it's like our bigger brother, and we capture those electrons. But we can use them for different things, and the homeowner can use them for different things, and even the utility can use them for different things. So we're kind of a Swiss Army knife, where PV's a single knife, we're like a Swiss Army knife. For homeowners, we like to pride ourselves, hence Franklin Whole Home, that we can back up a whole home when the grid goes down, right? And we all have grid outages across the country. We have an aging grid that hasn't been supported adequately for capital investment, which is why you have grid outages in California. As soon as the wind picks up or wildfires pick up, the utility just starts to shut everything down, right? You have hurricanes in Florida and the Gulf Coast. You've got ice storms in Texas. You've got snowstorms in Buffalo. Grid goes down and the homeowner's left in the dark.
And you got rotting stuff in the freezer. I hate that.
Yes, nobody likes that, right? So being able to back up a home and insulate yourself from these grid outages is definitely a great use case, and one that we pride ourselves on. We have a product solution that specializes in that. Above and beyond that, you can also use our product to save money, right? So when you're catching solar in the day, during the day, and you're not at home to use it, well, what do you do with it? It either goes back to the grid or it gets wasted. Now you can actually save it in your battery. And when you come home and the rates are at their highest rates, you don't have to pull from the grid, just pull from your battery because you've already stored that solar. So now you can rate arbitrage and actually save money every single day by utilizing that battery. for the utilities and some for homeowners as well. There's a new thing out called like VPPs, called virtual power plants, where the utility will actually pay you to be able to reach in and grab some of that energy when it needs to help stabilize the grid. So homeowners can actually subscribe to these $50 a month or whatever the program may look like, and they can actually also financially benefit from it, right? So there's multiple use cases in an energy storage solution system.
So how does the Franklin VPP work? Like, maybe we could even explain sort of what a VPP is. And so you're coordinating a whole bunch of different resources together, especially like smaller energy storage systems, and you're making them act like a big power plant. And so there's somebody that's out there coordinating it. Is it Franklin coordinating it? Is it some other organization that's coordinating it? Or could either or how?
Great question. So virtual power plants are kind of the new kid on the scene. And what a virtual power plant really does is it aggregates and manages distributed energy resources, whether it be batteries, electric vehicles, smart thermostats, electrical devices in the house, and it manages those in an optimal way to help continue to support the grid and support homeowners. You know, the grandpa grid, as we refer to it, you know, built back in the 30s, produced that electricity and just sent it down a wire one way very unintelligently. VPP of the future is grabbing these disparate, we'll call it renewable energy sources, and using them on a push-pull basis. So homeowners can benefit from this, and as well as the utilities themselves. And we'll continue to see this grow. You know, between now and 2030, we'll go from 6 million cars, electric vehicles, to about 35 million electric vehicles in the US alone. Those are all assets that can be used as part of the VPP, along with our batteries, as homeowners install more batteries, or smart thermostats. All of these can be tied together with technology, right, software, and can be integrated and managed.
Yeah, and so like with a virtual power plant or energy storage in general, sometimes the grid has too much and needs to give it away, and sometimes it doesn't have enough and it needs to pull it out. And so you can use sources and loads, and an energy storage system is both a source and a load at the same time. And so that works pretty cool. And so I know like in Germany, there's a company, Nextkraftwerk, and they were like kind of early in the VPP industry. And so they'll like coordinate a whole bunch of different resources. And I kind of look at it too as being sort of like somebody's your agent. So it's like you have like a Franklin whole home battery. You're not going to call up the utility and go like, okay, do you need it bad right now? Give me 20 cents a kilowatt hour extra, you know, for the next 20 minutes. Like the one person's not going to do that. But then you might have somebody that's the provider providing this network that's going to make that call. And of course, it might be like some kind of software solution, something to do that. So when this is happening, who's the one making the call? Like,
so it's usually the VPP operator.
And so who's the VPP operator?
Normally it's either going to be the utility themselves, or in some cases there's an intermediary acting as an independent that manages that distributed energy resource program, either on behalf of the utility or they're just a middleman and they do it themselves.
So do you have an example of where it's happening like right this minute?
So in the US, there are a few places. In Texas, there are a number of VPP providers. You have I'll call it a deregulated grid there. So it makes it more advantageous for third parties to develop a VPP. Where you're really starting to see the front end of this is in the UK. There's a company called Octopus Energy. They have literally millions of customers that they help participate in a VPP. Well, they'll push electrons back and forth and or manage load for the homeowners. Homeowners don't even know it's happening, right? It all happens behind the scenes through software.
So is there like a Franklin VPP that somebody listening right now could join and sign up?
There are. So we're kind of new to the space, but in the last year, we've now joined 7 VPP programs.
Great.
With 10 utilities across, I think, 11 states. We have roughly 500 or 600 of our batteries that are tied into the VPPs right now, and our homeowner customers are taking advantage of that. So It's happening in real time.
And so I guess like when that's happening, people are connected to the internet and that's controlling it?
Absolutely. Those communications have to happen. There has to be IoT connectivity.
Cool. And then also you probably have like EV charger capabilities and all that kind of stuff.
So we don't sell an EV charger right now. We do have what we call V2L, which is vehicle to load capabilities. So for certain vehicles like a Ford 150 Lightning, you can actually take that, plug it into our gateway, right? Our A gate, and you can run your home loads off of the car. We can't charge it, but we can run the house off of your car.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah. So you're coordinated with electric vehicles.
It's on the front edge, and that's also a kind of emerging technology. I would say the automobile manufacturers that are doing EVs, which a lot of companies new to them, not named Tesla, right? They're becoming more and more adapt to this V to L or V to G technology, and we're starting to see more of it adopting. Still very, very early days.
Yeah. And so another question I have is like, how do you interface with the solar? AC coupling, DC coupling?
Great question. We are an AC coupled solution. We have been since we got started. So AC coupled means you sit on the other side of your inverter, which is already inverted from DC to AC. We work with any inverter in the marketplace. We're fantastic for retrofits because it doesn't matter if there's existing solar or not. We're super simple to install. Very little technical issues with the AC. We do have a DC coupled product that will be launching later on in 2025. So if you want to have our battery actually tied directly to the PV, we'll have that solution as well.
Okay, cool. All right. And so maybe just to explain that, so it's called AC coupled. The 2023 NEC, now they call it AC interconnected. But pretty much you can have an old PV system from 20 years ago that doesn't know how to work with batteries or anything. It's just like a regular grid-tied system. And then you go and you can get your Franklin battery, and then you have a microgrid interconnect device. And that microgrid interconnect device, do you have a special name for it? I think you do, right?
Well, we call it the A-gate. I mean,
yeah, the A-gate,
it has an automatic transfer switch in it, but yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so an automatic transfer switch is, I would say, like a microgrid interconnect device.
That's exactly it.
That's a good way of explaining it to people. And so you install that, you isolate from the grid, and then it will signal the battery to take the place of the grid as far as like creating the frequency and the voltage. And then it would get that inverter from 20 years ago to turn on. And then that inverter from 20 years ago, you also have to be able to make it turn off, because if the battery is fully charged, you can't just like keep sending out power from the PV. And I'm sure you do what's called frequency regulation. Is that?
We curtail that extra energy if we don't need it, right? The house doesn't need it and the battery's already full.
Yeah, and so the curtailing it would be typically that it would change the frequency of your microgrid, which would be done by the inverter that's inside of your battery, like it's in the same box. And then it changes the frequency a little bit, which will make the other inverter that's 20 years old go into anti-island mode. It turns off for 5-minute periods of time.
Correct.
So that's pretty cool.
That's the technology. We would like to refer to our A-gate as a microgrid in a box.
We interrupt you for a very important announcement. Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast has been brought to you by Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. That's right, Sean White is sponsoring his own podcast, and he wants to remind you to go check out some of his classes. You can go to SolarSean, that's Solar, SEAN.com, and then click on the links to check out his classes. You can check out his heat spring classes, and you can also hire him to teach classes for you, like at your company, something like that. Now back to the show.
And then what kind of batteries are you using with it?
So we're using a utility scale grade prismatic cell, which is LFP chemistry, lithium iron phosphate chemistry.
Okay.
So this is slightly lower power density than you would have in an NMC, but more stable chemistry, so you don't have thermal runaway, which is something you don't want in your battery. For those of you that had a laptop that may have expanded one day when you didn't want it to. So we have a very safe chemistry, and we have a product that's very robust because it's being used in many other applications, not just residential.
Yeah, it's sort of like those NMC batteries have gone out of style for energy storage systems.
Yeah, they were great for a while, but the next generation technology is really what we're deploying. We started with this almost 3 years ago. And the LFP that are in our new A-Power 2s, we now have a 15-year warranty and more importantly, a 60 megawatt hour warranty. So you can continue to run your battery full and discharge, depth of discharge completely every single day for a decade.
Wow.
Which is equivalent of a 2 million mile car.
Wow.
That's how far the technology is.
Can I put those in my car? Is that okay?
Well, they may be coming to a car near you very soon.
Okay. And so there's 3 different types of batteries, and you said that you have the prismatic. Then there is the cylindrical battery, and then the other one is the flat one. It's called the pouch. And a pouch is sort of like what you have in your phone, like if you ever saw your phone when they change the battery. It just looks like a Ziploc bag that's kind of silver. And then if you rolled that thing up, and put it in a metal case, then it would be like cylindrical if you just rolled it up in a circle. But if you kind of roll it up in an oval and you put it in a box, that's what's called prismatic.
That would be a very good summary, Sean. I like that.
Sort of like that. I've heard them even call it prismatic, the jelly roll battery. You know?
I have heard that, but yes, when you look in the inside, it does have that
Yeah,
characteristic.
but it doesn't look like you and I are big jelly roll eaters probably, so it's been quite a while
Try and stay away.
since I was in high school. But the jelly rolls do have some kilowatt hours in them.
They do. And that building block of that prismatic cell, we really see that as the sweet spot, not only in automotive, but also in utility scale stationary storage. So from a supply chain standpoint, we want to use the best product that's also going to be available. Nobody wants a product that may have a supply chain issue.
Great. And so the other thing that you're going to do now, I'll just kind of explain the one that you have right now is the AC coupled solution. So it is an inverter and a battery in the same box. Like it's in the same box and it's UL listed 9540 and also has the 9540A test, I'm sure. And so how many kilowatt hours is it?
So our 8Power 2 has 15 kilowatt hours.
15 kilowatt hours.
15.
Cool. All right. And so you got 15 kilowatt hours in that box, and that's AC coupled. And then the one that you're coming out with later this year is also going to be able to probably, usually like, are you going to be able to AC couple and DC couple with it?
You can AC couple and DC couple with it.
So, and you could do it actually at the same time probably, right?
Yeah, for the most part. You literally have two inverters in it, right? You have one coming from the DC that moves it to AC, right? So it either goes then to the house or reconverts to the battery.
Yeah, and so with a DC coupled one, I guess the big difference is, like for the installer, is it would just have an input for PV, like a solar input. Oh, 4 PV inputs.
4 PV inputs.
And so pretty much, I bet you it has, is it 4 maximum PowerPoint trackers or 2 of them?
It has 4 maximum PowerPoint trackers. Perfect.
4 maximum PowerPoint trackers. So each string can work at its own voltage and have different amounts of PV on it.
Correct. So 4 inputs, 4 strings, 4 MPPTs.
Cool. And then how many volts can it go up to? Like 600
It's
maybe?
15 amps per string.
15 amps per string.
So you can multiply that, can't get over 600 volts on a residential roof.
600 volts for residential.
Right.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Pretty cool. And so is pretty much your company's focus, is it residential?
We are exclusively residential right now. We stay in the one-phase space. We do have a 208 volt single-phase product as well. So think of that application as a multifamily dwellings and even some light commercial space that works in that 208 single-phase.
Is it the same inverter that just automatically resets it to a different voltage?
It is the same inverter.
So it's pretty much the same inverter. It will work at 240 and 208. And so when we say 240, we just mean that's what you have residential come into your house. And so right in between 240 volts, you got the neutral. And so you got 120 volts to each side. And they're alternating back and forth, positive to negative, 60 cycles per second. That's kind of how that works. So
You got it. I like your customer base. They're technically strong.
oh, yeah. Yeah. If they want to just like get, they could go somewhere else for the other stuff,
Good.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, we want to get people educated, get them APSEP certified and all that.
Yes.
So another thing too is that since your system will work with pretty much any inverter, like do you have particular inverters that you work with more than others, or you just want to keep it so like every inverter's your friend?
Every inverter's our friend. If the inverter's doing its job right and converting the DC to AC, we can accept it. I would say we don't prefer one or the other, but there's obviously a lot of micros out in the marketplace. So a lot of our systems go with micro solutions, but we also work with as far back as the old Froniuses, right? The IGs and Sunny Islas. We've tried and tested everything. No problems.
Cool.
Our product is set it and forget it.
So with the Sunny Islands, wow. So you got your inverter.
Sunny Boy or Sunny Island?
Or Sunny Boy.
Sunny Boy.
Sunny
The
Boy.
Sunny Island
Okay.
was the hybrid off-grid one, right?
I'm sure it would work also, but it would just be like more trickier. And you'd have like multiple battery banks and stuff like that.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure you could make it work.
Sunny
together.
Boy. Sunny Boy was the original Resi.
Yeah, the Sunny Boy string
the
inverters and
SMA.
stuff like
That's
that.
right,
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. And then if people are going to buy a Franklin whole home battery, where can they get it?
Good question. So if you're an installer, we work with all of the top distributors in the US, and now we're in Canada as well. So if you know CED or Baywa or Solagent, you can procure there. Platt and a few others. We have some specialty ones on the island of Puerto Rico and in Hawaii. So we're pretty well distributed. We look at our distributors as being our customers. We only sell through distribution. So we have a very good relationship with all our distribution partners.
Cool. All right. So you can pretty much get it anywhere. Can you get it on eBay?
No, you should not be able to get it on eBay.
I bet, yeah, I could probably find one there. Yeah.
Well, we take a lot of pride in making sure that our homeowners end up getting a really good product. So for an installer to commission our product, they have to be certified with Franklin or the product cannot be commissioned.
Oh, okay.
Right?
So they couldn't even turn it on.
They can't turn it on. If you haven't gone through our training,
So don't buy it on eBay.
don't buy it on eBay.
Like what
Please don't buy it on
happens if
eBay.
somebody has a used one though? Like what, they can call you probably or something like that?
If somebody has a used product, they should call our 800 number and we can direct them to the right person to get a certified installation completed.
Okay, all right. But if there is a used one, just like the homeowner can't do it unless they're certified or something like that.
Correct.
And how does somebody get certified?
You can go to Franklin Homes website and there's a certification process for our installers.
And then do they get to watch those videos of Bill Brooks?
There are some Bill Brooks videos on there. Absolutely. Bill's been a big fan of ours since our early days. Him and his family have been a great asset to Franklin Homes.
Yeah, and I know Josh Brooks is one of your star employees. I was just talking to him.
Absolutely. He's one of our rock stars.
Yep.
You can't get enough smart people in your organization, and Josh is definitely one of them.
Yep. And so one thing that we maybe could talk a little bit about is how it gets networked to different things. So like you've got all these different devices in your house. Probably you got like Ethernet cables is an option, cellular being an option, Wi-Fi.
So cell, Wi-Fi, or hardwire through Ethernet connection are all an option for our installers to get the connectivity of the device itself. And just depending on the application, one may make more sense than others. Obviously, hardwire is the preferred method, right? Because it's pretty much bulletproof. Wi-Fi comes and goes, especially as the homeowner may change their Wi-Fi or their password, and the system gets disconnected, so on and so forth. You always have cellular, so we have cellular programs as a backup. Those also seem to work in, I'll call it, off-grid situations where maybe a cell tower is the only thing that can connect the device to it. But we have all three connection capabilities.
So off-grid, are people using the battery off-grid?
We have a robust off-grid business. We are grid forming out of the box. So we are a super simple installation for off-grid.
Wow. Okay, so like right out of the box, it's a standalone inverter.
Standalone.
Pretty cool. I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
And so for the off-grid solution, is it still doing frequency regulation to charge the battery?
So it's still an AC coupled solution, so you would need an inverter with the PV system, and then we'd install it that way.
Okay, because
but you don't need any grid input for it to be able to grid form and run the power of the house.
Could be just like the grid's down or something like that.
Exactly.
So it would still do that thing where like when your battery is fully charged, it would have to like turn off the inverter for 5-minute periods or more?
Yeah, it would curtail the power coming out of the inverter.
Okay, it's pretty cool.
Yep.
All right. So I think I need to get a couple of these things.
All right. I like it.
Let's work out a deal. So
we'll have to figure something out for you. It'd be cool.
Cool.
Yeah, we have a great product and would love to work with you on a project.
All right. So where do people find you and where do they find Franklin?
You can find us at FranklinWH.com. We've got a really robust website. A lot of material there for both homeowners and installers. And of course, our certified installers also get to get behind the curtain where we have all of the training material and support material that they need to do installations, customer sales, service, so on and so forth.
Great. Awesome.
We really pride ourselves on making sure that we've got a quality product and service all the way through the channel, right? Through our distributors, our installers, and ultimately our homeowners. We built the company around technical support. Anytime you have an inverter in your system, for lack of a better word, you own the system and all the problems in it because they show up in that inverter, even if it's in the battery, right? So we've built a great technical service organization. We have boots on the ground. We have an 800 number, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. We answer calls from all over the place. If we can't solve it through there, we get somebody on the road to go show up in person and solve a problem.
All right, cool.
So,
awesome.
Great product's great, but if you don't have an equally good service network underneath it, it's just not the great experience we want.
Okay, cool. What's funny is like the last person that I was talking to was named Ben, and then your company's Franklin. So I was like looking at my calendar like, what's going on here?
So do you know that Ben Franklin was the one who actually coined the term battery?
Yeah, I think from a battery cannons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, cause what would they call them, Leyden jars or something like that, when he was flying a kite, and they have these like jars that are sort of like capacitors or something like that?
Yeah, I think it was some kind of crude capacitor, but I didn't know that he'd actually coined the term battery.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Which I think which is really cool.
Yeah, Ben Franklin. He used to like to get up real early in the morning. And what are some other things about Ben Franklin? He made a stove, a special wood stove that a lot of people have used,
He invented the spectacles.
Oh, the bifocals?
Yeah. And the U.S. library system, as I understand it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and he was a printer,
Yeah.
But then I think he got a little carried away when he started going to France too much and partying a bit with the ladies.
Yeah, but you see what happens when you don't have the internet? It forces you to go be creative and do a bunch of wonderful things for the world.
I know. Just what I think if Ben Franklin was around right now, he'd just be like scrolling on YouTube.
He'd be looking at his phone.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, Vince Ambrose. And thanks for listening to Shawn White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. To find out more, go to solarsean.com and get yourself NABCET certified so you can understand how to install all of this really cool stuff.